Congratulations, you are coming in on the first ever Rocket Drones webinar. We started putting this thing together. We were getting so many phone calls from schools around the country asking a lot of the same questions, wanting to dive in and get involved. And it's like, you know what? Let's do a webinar. Let's invite everybody in and see if we can answer some questions. So we'll dive right in. We know your time's valuable. It's time to get home to families and dinner. So we'll dive in and get started. Welcome to Rocket Drones. I am Brandon Turk. I'm one of the co-founders of the company. I also own a drone business in Tennessee. Been a professional drone pilot now for well over a decade. Chris, you want to say howdy?
Hey there. My name's Chris Ton here with Rocket Drones as well. I too have had or continue to operate a drone company by the name of Pelican Drones here in Pensacola, Florida, and continue to search for young professionals that are ready to get into the drone space and get certified.
Absolutely. That is what you're going to hear a lot about today, because that is our main focus, is getting these youngsters job ready. So also in the office, we have some support staff going. You won't see on camera, but we have Chantry Holdman, our research and development individual. We have Chris Peugeot. He spells it P-I-G-G-O-T, but it's Peugeot. That makes us classy. He does a lot with our coding back end. And then Josh Brodefjord is one of our national field trainers. And then Jay Rice is actually a professional drone racer and another one of our coders. So a good sized team here at Rocket. And to start out, we wanted to tell you a little bit about why we do this. Why does Rocket Drones exist? Chris and I, we mentioned we've been in the industry now for well over probably 13, 14 years that we've been involved in the drone industry. On my side, I'm very heavy on infrastructure with power line inspections, solar fields, search and recovery, different aspects of that, running LiDAR sensors, different operations. Chris has the beautiful life down in Pensacola, Florida. Poor guy is stuck on Hatterish yachts, filming massive $1 million boats, filming for Netflix and multiple TV shows, and big in the cinema world. And there we go, check out his videos. He has the beauty while I'm stuck in the mud, but it's all great. And, the big thing that we've noticed over the past decade as we try to hire and expand our businesses, and as drone companies around the country are growing, we are struggling with finding qualified pilots. Not just finding pilots as a whole. Pilots are a dime a dozen, just like 16-year-olds that just got their driver's licenses that scare the crap out of us every day when we get on the highway. There's a difference in certified and qualified. So at Rocket, we came together and we said, what does a qualified job candidate look like, that we would go through that interview process and actually want to hire them? And then we built the entire Rocket Drones culture around preparing our youth to become those individuals. That is why we do this. We know what industry needs because we're in it. We know how to help prepare these kids to become employees and become ready to move to the job force. And we gamified it into a way that they want to get involved. They want to dive in and enjoy it. The big hit that really catches us, that we notice as a problem, is there's so much push on the Part 107. Now, we understand in the education side, it's all about certificates. That's kind of how our schools are graded, it seems like, on these things. But for those of us that are in the industry, the Part 107 license is the least of our worries. We can get you a Part 107. Did you know that you can get your Part 107 license having never flown a drone a day in your life? So imagine, I fly fixed wing airplanes. Imagine if I was able to go in, take the test to get my pilot's license to fly larger aircraft, having never gone to ground school and flight school and learned to properly fly. That would be scary. And that's the struggle that we're in the industry. Right now, our pilots are what we call GPS pilots. Would you agree with that, Chris? Is that a good term? A GPS pilot?
Autopilot pilots.
Autopilot pilots. These are pilots that have gone to Best Buy, bought their DJI aircraft, which there's nothing wrong. We run a fleet of DJI and various aircraft. The problem is these pilots are 100% reliant on GPS, automation, sensor arrays, and the AI. So when we're out running a $70,000 drone with a $200,000 LiDAR puck on a mapping mission, and that drone's 500 yards away and we're out flying, and that GPS sensor fails, or one of those automated sensors goes down, the last thing we as employers want to hear is, uh-oh. Oh my gosh, no, don't say, uh-oh, what do you mean? What's going on? And this is where the focus at Rocket Drones is manual pilots, and why we operate with manual aircraft with no sensors. For example, here next week, I'm flying out to California to onboard some schools and do some trainings. I'll be on a Southwest flight, and I know that we're going to be on autopilot. But Lord forbid something happens, autopilot goes down. I really hope that my pilot can grab the yoke, grab the throttle, and know how to manually get that aircraft back down to the ground safely. That's where we are in industry. If you're not a manually trained pilot, we really don't even want to interview you anymore, because the risk, the insurance risk, and the collateral of having a pilot who relies only on those sensors is so scary and so great. Chris, anything else in that? Anything to add on there?
No, that in a nutshell, without saying it, that is the problem that we absolutely solve here at Rocket Drones. Is, hey, what do we do to take a certification that requires no skill set training, and how do we embed logging hours, understanding how to fly this drone without the sensors, so that absolutely we can have the foundation of an actual pilot when they're needed in industry work scenarios. So you hit the nail on the head, and looks like we're on to the next section, which is basically what industries are using drones, because it's grown quite a bit in the last 3 to 5 years.
It really has. And just so y'all know, we do have the chat live. If you have any questions on any specific careers, curriculums, where drones are being used, throw those in the chat. It doesn't have to be about rocket drones even. We're in the industry. We can answer a lot of your drone questions. Feel free to throw them in the chat. And talking about the industries, Chris, while you're queued up, I know you've done some neat stuff flying off your boat. Do you want to tell us a couple that you've done personally?
It varies quite a bit down here in the Florida Panhandle, but we are fortunate enough to highlight a lot of categories of things for sale. Everything from, yes, yachts, to nice houses, to office complexes, but also we get into the engineering world, where we're out there taking actual measurements of intersections for engineering firms that want to do a rendering of what this intersection could look like after a new turning lane is added in, and so on and so forth. We're also seeing a lot of safety components in our area. Obviously, we have a lot of coastline. Lifeguard drones are a real thing. They actually can keep not just an eye out for shark activity, but can also drop life preservers. I'd say you're going to start seeing those a lot more in areas like Florida, particularly South Florida, as they have the most population and budgets. But these are just to name a few in my neck of the woods. Along with agriculture, we're seeing a huge, accelerant of agricultural uses, from not just scanning the crops in the agriculture, but also treating and fertilizing and strategically spraying, so that we're not using an entire excess of treatment on crops. We're actually strategically spraying and treating the trouble areas. So that's just to name a few in my world.
Yeah, and you're spot on there. To piggyback on the agriculture side, here just last year we signed on a big agreement with the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, one of the biggest 4-H programs in the country, and we're working to revamp a new 4-H curriculum focused on drones. Drones aren't just in the air. They're underwater, they're ground-based, outer space. Drones are everywhere. So currently at 6 locations, UT Knoxville is running a drone program with Rocket, and we're rebuilding and rebranding that 4-H side. Because you're right, Chris, if I have a 1,000-acre farm and I'm out here flying and I put fertilizer on all 1,000 acres, that's going to cost a fortune. But when I'm able to fly an NDVI sensor and specify, hey, I need fertilizer in the back 20, this area over here, we have a little bit of drought. And in these spot areas, we have pests where we need some pesticides. The amount of money you're saving in fertilizer for the farmer, and also that quick application, is crucial. One of the biggest areas we've seen it as well in ag is a replant. Having a farm, when we go out and we plant our crops, we go out, we plant, a few weeks later, we go out and monitor what has popped up. We only have about a 2.5-week window to replant areas that didn't take. So the drones now have sped that up for us significantly. And then we did talk, I'm more on the infrastructure side. So here in Tennessee, we are not used to snow. So when we get an inch of snow, everybody freaks out. We shut down. So that's when the land cruisers are out up and down the lines, doing the inspection, doing the flights, and a lot of mapping. So there's a ton of different areas. If you're interested in anything specific, feel free to ask. But we're in a ton of areas with drones. And what's really exciting is the fact that our students are going to be working in areas that don't even exist yet. Actually, just yesterday, I was training a new school in Connecticut. And it was freshman orientation day. And one of the young ladies said, well, I'm going to be a nurse. How would a drone ever impact me? And I remember an article I saw on LinkedIn just last month where they developed the first capsule that you can swallow, and it's radio controlled by the doctor using small water jets. And this capsule is now flowing through the intestines and through the body and doing inspection work. So drones really are from inside the body to outside the body. They're impacting us everywhere. And, before we move on to the next area, actually, let me preface that for you. As you're listening to this today and thinking about your questions, drones are not just for those students who love drones. Let's use the architecture example. So let's say Chris and I, actually not Chris, I saw Miss Rosalind had joined in. So Miss Rosalind and I, we both want to be architects, not really focused on drones, right? So Brandon, I come in, I have my interview, I do a great job. The interviewer loves me. But Miss Rosalind, at the end of her interview, goes, "Sir or ma'am, do y'all have a drone program?" Oh, we love the digital twins. We love the 3D animations and everything you can do with those. But Ms. Rosalind, we don't. We wouldn't know where to start. Well, hey, not a problem. I'm a recent graduate from XYZ High School. Here's my 107. Here's my logbook of hours and my portfolio developed by Rocket Drones. When you're ready to start a drone program, I'm already trained in this and I would love to help you. Well, hey, even though Brandon did a great job on his interview, Brandon's out the door because Ms. Rosalind is now a value add. Now they don't have to go out and bring in a third party or hire another company. Drone, when you learn how to handle a drone manually and perform the duties of this, it is nothing more than a tool in the tool belt. Just like a carpenter has his hammer and his straight edge and all his tools, drone is a tool no matter what career field you go into. And that's one thing that we're big advocates for at Rocket. When we came into education from the industry side, it was amazing to see so many programs that say, buy our program and you can use it for 30 kids. And then we're going to charge you for every other student that wants to use it. That, like I said, we're not in education, right? We're industry coming to education because we need to bridge the gap. That hurt the heart. Our programs are built to be site-wide. When this moves into a middle school, elementary, high school, wherever it is, every single student in your program has the opportunity to go through this because this benefits so many different kids. Anything I missed there, Chris? You agree on the site license side, how important it is to expose all of our youth to these?
Oh, absolutely. The site licenses are certainly something we'll dive a bit further into as we get into the products. But just going back into the industry to close out this is really just an opener to understand that it's beyond photography, videography with drones. I was at my local Sam's Club the other day. There was a robot going down the aisles, cleaning the floors. Then I was in my local BJ's wholesale store, and they had a robot taking inventory with LiDAR sensors. These drones that are running around in our local retail marts are being cared for by technicians, whether they be coders or drone operators, remote operators, whatever you want to call them. So this hiring pool has gotten a lot bigger. And the fact that you can show exposure and experience to operating these from both a coding side and from a remote operation side is huge for what a industry is looking for.
It really is. And that moves us into what does industry want? We talked about how the industry is currently flooded with GPS-based pilots, but we need manual pilots. One project we're working right now in Tennessee that's really exciting is we've got hundreds of miles of underground pipe, 5 feet underground, 30 inches is all we have, that we're going to be using drones to fly these because the robots that are ground-based are unable to perform the parts that we need for these different customers and areas. So now we're using a manual drone with a cage around it and all the different sensor apparatuses we need. The only thing holding us back from launching this full force is I don't have a pilot well enough trained yet to get this. And that's part of what we're looking for. That manual skill set to grab that drone, knowing there's no GPS 5 feet underground, but be able to fly these inspections and do these is so crucial. What do you look for as well, Chris, as far as experience? And you do so much video work. What do you really look for in that with the portfolio side?
So really, going back to hours, we don't interview anyone less than 25 hours. It's just, that's something that's got to be above 25 hours so I at least know that they have an understanding of the various scenarios that wind can throw at us, shadowing can throw at us, just a variety of experience-related fields for the equipment. But, in general, it becomes down to the piloting. Again, just back down to the piloting. So I don't want to hit too much on it. I do want to keep going in that regard of what the solutions look like to help provide your schools with these tools in the toolbox to get kids doing exactly what industry is looking for. So I think with that, we move on to, starting the program in your school. I'll let Brandon kick back off with the classroom set.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'll talk about that if you want to show it. I think we have one down there we can show everybody. So we start you out with Rover. Rover is our classroom drone, and we'll switch down to the office in Florida. We got the studio set to show you some goodies. So we start this program at grade 3 and move all the way up to the high school level. Is that a drone? Of course, there's Peugeot. Are you flying around with a ping pong ball?
Yeah. So that's the classroom drone that Chris has. He's flying around the ping pong ball, doing a little gamification here, enjoying a little flight. So
yeah,
always love to show that.
The gamification is key, and we spend a lot of hours. Yes, it looks like we're playing at work. We play a lot at work. The gamification of what we do is so critical. When we tell a kid, hey, do you want to learn X, Y, and Z in math class? And we're like, no, wait, it's Thursday. It's drone day in math class where we're going to be doing flips and doing arches with the ping pong ball and measurements. Yeah, I want to learn about math class, being able to put these classroom systems into all these different areas, from spelling, English, math, all these areas. And you've got your games, you've got your activities, you've got your curriculum, you've got everything you need to get in, get started, and have them going. And again, if you have any questions on the specifics of that, throw them in the chat. But that's going to be Rover. That's going to be your classroom drone. This is what we call the foundation. You don't just pick up a racing drone and start racing. Just like you don't grab one of our big LiDAR drones on day one and go, I'm going to be a drone pilot and start flying a LiDAR system. This is where we come in, we establish the foundation of line of sight, reference points when the drones turn, moving different directions, how it handles. Chris, you look like you're pulling out some goodies. Anything specific you want to touch on while you're pulling that out?
Yeah, let's go over what's inside this kit and what makes it the turnkey ready solution for getting kids up and running. So one of the things that you'll notice is that we heavily made a lot of safety improvements to anything that's first-time flyer related. You're going to see a lot of cage elements over these propellers. That's also for the safety factor, but also so that it's nice and strong when we hit things, because they're going to hit things. Another thing is there's 6 of these. So you have enough to go around, and they all go down into 2 storage cases. Within the storage cases, you have additional storage cases or hard cases to keep the actual drones nice and protected while they're in there. Everything takes the same charger, which is USB-C. All the drones in our lineup take the same battery, which only plug in one way for safety. Every one of our kits includes obstacles. In this case, they're mini inflatable obstacles. They all fold down. I believe there's 6 unique shapes that go into here. Some of those obstacles allow for us to Velcro them together and stack them. I think we have some cool pictures I'll bring up here in a moment to show you there. There's also your STEM activities kit, which includes all of the gamification components. So we've got everything from pumps to inflate the inflatables. It's a necessity in the post-COVID world. Pipe cleaners, Velcro straps, different colored ping pong balls, you name it, it's all in here. But it's all stuff that you can easily go down to a Walmart or a local office supply store and replace and keep your games and your activities running, so that we're at the end of the day logging those hours from year to year, semester to semester. Within this, there's also going to be some safety equipment, including our safety glasses. There's 24 safety glasses in here. We also have our landing pads. So the landing pads are kind of fun because they're in different colors. So we can start and stop with start and finish lines. And there's also color identification stickers. So a lot of great beginner material right here. And then we couple those with how to fly, flight challenges, and flight activities. Flight challenges and how to fly are really building you up to the basics of flight. And then we start to gamify it heavily with the flight activities, which I'll go jump back over to my computer and show you some of those as well.
Absolutely. When we were doing one of our last trainings, you should have seen the teachers playing drone tennis and drone basketball with them. Chris, one of the big things you focused on there is safety, and that is one of the biggest things we focus on. We noticed early on there are a lot of drone companies throwing stuff into schools using like XT60 connectors and things that if you touch it wrong, that polarity is backwards, you've got smoke or you've got a fire or you've got a battery getting ready to explode. We don't play that game with these kids. These batteries are designed and the charger designed in a way If they don't fit, it stops it. So there's no accidental discharges, no smokes, no fires in the schools. That's a big focus for us. Oh, here's the teachers playing a little drone tennis. So the drones have IR sensors built into them. We do teach the kids about IR sensors since that's something we use in the industry world. There's different challenges, a bunch of different games. I was like, all right, guys, it's time to start playing drone tennis. Set it down. They're like, no, we're going to keep going. They were having too much fun. But again, we gamify everything that we do with the kids. So while they're going through flying the different challenges, this is actually a drone relay race. You have to make it through different obstacle courses without losing your ping pong ball, which is a challenge. You get into ground effect, you hit different gates, strategically planning your mind. If everybody's racing to the gate at one time, my mind tells me I need to wait and let those other 4 pilots slam into each other. So things that we think about commercially when we're on a job site have basically been built down into the gamification. Scoring is an important aspect of what we do because our schools have told us, hey, we've got to be able to grade our students. So you do have grading sheets and scoring sheets on the games for each activity, so you can incorporate those into your different activity scoreboards for the kids. If anybody likes to play golf, this is a fun one. We won't give you a sneak peek of that one yet, but a lot of fun games in there. So if you have any questions on the classroom set, this is Rover. This is the introduction to classes. Chris, what are we selling this program at?
So this program is right at $3,500 for drones only. There is a coupling that we really try to merge this with our curriculum, which is the Intro to Drones curriculum. You might have seen that earlier on my screen here when I was talking about some of the drone jobs that are out there. That's part of what we cover in the Intro to Drone space, is not just, you know, how they fly, but what careers are ahead in this space, so that the kiddos can really understand the opportunities beyond the basics here. So, you know, 6,500 curriculum's 3,000 by itself. So we couple it together, 6,500 with curriculum, 3,500 just for the drones and the activities. And of course, some of these activities range from, you know, drone golf, drone basketball, drone fishing, drone drifting, musical drones, drone relay racing, air traffic control says, drone tennis, and there will be more. And they're categorized into different levels of difficulty. So you have your easy, medium, and hard progressionary paths, so that we can continue to hone the skills and log those hours, which is really what it's all about at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Chris, will you click back over to the curriculum real quick for a moment? There was something on there we ought to let everybody know about. So if you'll scroll up to the top, what you're looking at here is the Rocket Drones LMS. This is all built and managed internally. So when the kids take their quizzes, the grades are automatically graded and sent to the teacher's dashboard, so they're not having to manually grade papers. But at the very top, if you'll scroll all the way to the top, Chris, we have language selection. This was actually a recommendation that came to us from one of our schools that said, hey, we've got a lot of students moving in that are not yet learning English. Now, yes, to be a certified pilot in the drone world, you have to read, write, and understand English. But while going through the curriculum and the training and learning English, you do have the ability to select the language into any language that you need. So if you have students that are not yet fluent in English, no need to neglect them. Don't say, no, you can't join Drone Club. This is an inclusive program, so we have that there as a way to make sure everybody gets involved. So before we move down and dive into the curriculum a little more, any questions in the chat from anything on the classroom kit? Anybody have any questions? Not seeing anything right now, so that's cool. If you have anything, just throw it in. And curriculum, which we're actually looking at. So the first thing about our curriculum, it is site-wide. So when you put this in your high school, every single class can use it. When you're teaching science, you're going over gravity, log them into our curriculum. We make gravity way more fun than page 300 of a textbook. Again, this is built to benefit every student, every teacher within your school. The way this is done is we wrote the entire curriculum in-house, but it was written in industry talk. So we work very heavily with our educators. We go in, we write out what we need the kids to know and understand, and then our educators take it and rewrite it into teacher talk. So now it's something easy for the teachers to understand, easy for the students to understand. We say, give us a third grade teacher who's never seen a drone before. We will have you up and fully operational within 3 to 4 hours. We built the program, Drone Education Simplified, to be much, much easier. One thing to think about when you're going through curriculum, though, this is not a curriculum that we say you have to finish every section. If you get to an area on brushless motors and the kids are intrigued about how stators work and why the copper coilings are there, please stay on it. Stay there on what those kids are really interested in. You're also noticing here in the first couple chapters, we are very heavy on pictures, and there's also a lot of videos where we drive up on Teslas and you see us cutting the grass with electric lawnmowers. Kids learn differently. So we're big on providing images, videos, and text. So no matter how you learn, there's an opportunity and a way to go through and cover what you want to learn and how those different individuals learn. Anything else there on the curriculum side, Chris?
So as Brandon mentioned, curriculums are site licensed because we don't want them to live just in the robotics department. We feel that there are easy to fly drones. There's curriculum concepts and technology that cross over to mathematics, that cross over to science and physics and areas that even history that we do not want to leave out. So one of the things you will notice is that within our rocket drones, I believe it's on I'll have to find it here, but we have some standards that we've identified by some of the states that we currently have active footprints in. So those standards are crossed over into some crosswalk areas like physics, science, history, and we've identified those standards along with next gen standards. And we're currently working and looking at Common Core. Suggestions are welcomed should there be any others that we'd like to explore further. So, one of the things that it's nice to see that there's custom tailored pieces, for state specific questions related to standards. So if anybody does have a state that they're curious that we're not currently covering on our curriculum page of our website, please let us know and we'll email that over to you.
Yep, absolutely. So we're already written to the ISTE standards, and then we do go state by state. So as states launch and come online, the schools get moving. When there's a request for that, if they need it, we take the curriculum and we break it down. Chapter 1, lesson this, touches state standard XYZ and covers this, this, and this for you. We're also right now in the process of going through a big computer sciences update with our curriculum because CS is a big push. So any questions you have about that, you're welcome to reach out to us. We can talk about the standards for you there. And look at a couple questions come in. We just talked about that one. Do schools typically use grant money? That's a great question from Mr. Brad Seaman. Yes, so a lot of grants. Right now, since we are very heavy on CTE programs, there are a lot of Perkins funds and a lot of CTE programs launching this. We also work very closely with the AOPA, it's an aviation industry standard that we work with very heavily. Here we go. So here you can see the ISTE standards, current breakdowns of where we are, what we touch. These are added to. We add more chapters all the time. We got some more coming online here before the end of the year and a bunch scheduled for next year. So you'll be able to take these, break them down, go all the way through it. So on the finances side, yes, on the CTE, and then the classroom systems, we built price really. So if there's not a CTE budget, say at elementary or middle school, most schools can afford a $3,500 to $6,500 platform to get up and running, especially since you can use this in so many classes. It's not built for 30 kids. You can use this to teach spelling. You can use this to teach English. We have methods we work with you to show you how to teach this across national areas.
And
Chris, just on rocketdrones.com.
I was just going to say rocketdrones.com. Under our products and services drop-down menu, you'll see a Find Funding tab. This is really great for just being aware of some grants that you may not be already aware of on a federal or national private side, along with some state-specific ones that we can also point you on to. But as you can see, I'm scrolling and scrolling. There's a lot of really great technology and STEM-related national grants out there. And keep checking with your local state as well. We try to share those within our social media channels. So if you're not already following Rocket Drones on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, please feel free to do so because there are some great funding options in there. But obviously, once we get your kids engaged with the basics of flight in the classroom, we get them introduced to some basic principles of curriculum. It's really kind of like, okay, they've flown. What's next for the kids that are really interested in this? And I'll hand it back over to Brandon, but that's where our racing program kind of starts to kick in, unless I left off something on the curriculum side that you wanted to touch on, Brandon.
Nope, that was great. If anybody has questions on curriculum, you're welcome to throw it in there. Also, if you've used other grants, you've had great success, please share it with us. We'll add it to this page to help all of our schools know where they can get funding to benefit their classrooms. So now we're moving on to the racing.
Gate 1, Gate 2, Gate 3, Gate 4.
There we go. I got unmuted. So Chancery flying through the simulator here, one of the first pilots in the world, or the only to fly through the F-18 Super Hornets housing of their motor when they were doing maintenance for the Blue Angels. But we are also an esport. So we start our kids out on the computer, learning those fundamentals. And this is where the gamification really takes place. To a student, as I'm racing, I'm just going around this track. I'm just trying to make my way to the national championship because I want to go to Pensacola Beach for the nationals. But every method we do has a career benefit to it. So as these kids are going around these turns, as they're making that bank, the inertia, the mathematics, the geometry, the pendulum effects that they're learning around these gates are what we use every day in industry. So we've taken what we do at work and we've gamified it. One of the things I love seeing is we are very interactive with our schools. So if you schedule a call with us next Tuesday at 2 p.m., would you mind talking to my kids about the jobs and things? Absolutely. Let's do it. But there's a good chance I'm going to be in the field. So my truck's behind me. I've got my hard hat on. I'm flying. And this is where we're able to really reinforce you as a teacher as well. Our kids are always preached at, don't do drugs, don't do that. It's like, okay, teacher, we hear it all the time. But when I dial in, I go, hey, students, give me just a minute. I'm actually finishing up a flight here. But I started my day at 8 o'clock. I dropped my kids off at school. I had my drug test at 9:30. Right now, I'm finishing an S-turn around this cell tower, and all right, I've landed. Well, just in that 45 seconds, they've hit on two key things. A, what do you mean you're drug tested? Well, yeah, I'm flying over federal sites. I'm tested quarterly. Don't do drugs. I can't smoke. I can't do those kind of things if I want to enjoy the fun job that I have. Oh, Brandon, did you say you were doing an S-turn around a cell tower? Yeah. We do S-turns around our double stack gate on the racetrack. Yes, you do. The maneuvers that you're doing and learning while you're racing are things that we actually use in the field. So the racing is big on the flight skill portion, but also very important are those interpersonal skills. When we sit down, Chris and I, let's say we don't like each other, but you know what? We can still work together because when you grow up, you get a job, there's going to be a lot of people you don't work with or that you don't like to work with. There's also that responsibility aspect. If you're a flight engineer and you fail to do your job properly, it doesn't just fail for you. It affected your pilot. It affected your school ranking because you failed to pre-flight that drone and it had to land prematurely. Now let's relate that to life because there's more to life in having a job than just flying a drone, right? Let's say now on the way home, I decide to roll through a stop sign and I cause a fender bender. All right, kids, get your pens and papers out. Let's talk about how many people we impacted. If it's me personally and I did that, myself, my wife's upset. Now I probably didn't make it to my kids' school on time to pick them up, so it's affecting my kids. The person I hit, both of our companies' insurance is getting involved, and the line of people behind us mad because we're sitting there blocking the insurance. So that's the ability to say, Anna, Michael, you are so important. Every decision you make matters, and it affects so many people in different ways. But really getting those kids to see that self-worth and understand, hey, it's not just about being a drone pilot, but my choices in everyday life are so powerful. Chris, what is one of your favorite things on the race side?
So the race side is really where the rubber meets the road here, the pavement. When it comes to the career desired components, yes, the classroom drone is a wonderful introduction. It's a wonderful bridge to getting the next step of pilot skill set up and running, which is manual piloting. So when you do see, or you ever see a drone race going on, that is a pilot that is, and I apologize, I didn't mean to mute Brandon and put all that going, but I wanted to show the speed of some of this that you'll see a racing pilot go around the courses in the gym, and you'll see that there's no GPS, there's no proximity sensors, there's not even an altitude hold system. They are completely in control of that drone from every sense and angle that it's going through this course. So what that translates over into industry is, again, I'm now at that level of piloting so that if the sensors go out on the drone, I know exactly what to do. In addition, it makes me more of a versatile pilot so that if I change over from one platform to another, like if I go from fixed wing to 6-rotor to 4-rotor, 8-rotor, whatever it may be, I'm very adaptable because I am understanding of where these controls map out to very quickly because I've had exposure to all of the manual stuff whereas an autopilot pilot literally has never, ever seen what happens when there's no GPS. And it's a fun simulation that we play out at a lot of our exhibits that we go to. Is pilots start out GPS mode, we turn it off on them, and now they're actually having to pilot the craft. So anyways, that's really it in a nutshell. I love the competitiveness. I love that there's additional skill set building that doesn't just stop with the stage 1 drone. There's a stage 2 drone. Stage 2 drone comes into play. We unlock a little bit more speed. We have a higher definition camera that allows for us to DVR record, start building that portfolio, logging those flight hours. We mentioned logging flight hours are really what the industry's craving. Well, now you're logging the specific hours of racing. Now you're adding that additional layer of these are my manual piloting hours. These are my gamification hours. These are my simulation hours. So we're really bringing the entire ecosystem together here, and we're adding in the competitive fun factor of now I want to compete against another school or another team member or another class within my school. So there's a lot of ways to bring this back home and demonstrate the skill set that the kiddos are working on. And then, of course, the last cherry on top, the end of the journey for us is really now taking them to certification. Because one, we have to wait until they're closer to 16 years of age, which is when the FAA allows for our 107 commercial cert. But two, we want to make sure, again, that we're not exposing someone to all this certification pathway without the general knowledge and understanding of the skill set that goes into it. So yeah, that's my take on racing. It's where the program started. It's one of the things that I think really is admired by the industry more than anything, because yes, I can put up a really fancy drone and I can show up to a job site and it can fly itself and it can do its desired tasks. But when that actual pilot is needed, if they're not there, that can be a bad experience for the customer and a safety concern for others as well. So I'll leave it there and let Brandon have it back.
No, absolutely, Chris. You're right. And, you know, one of the big things on this, you notice we're set up in a gym right now. These gates are taller than I am. What are they, Chris? 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall?
Yeah, right at 9 feet for the singles. And then we have a double that caps out, I believe, at 13.
13 feet. So, and there's a reason we do this. You know, we saw a lot of programs that were using like hula hoops and PVC pipe and small targets. Industry-wise, there's certain maneuvers, there's certain slides you have to be able to do through gates and things you have to do. These systems, these gates, these shapes are all designed with a purpose. When these courses are built and laid out, they serve a purpose. So here we are right now. This is actually one of the virtual tours you'll get when we start setting up our new design courses for different races. You can use your mouse or your arrows, fly through it. We give you measurements of where everything goes. But we set up in the gymnasium for when we're doing racing. When the gym's not available, you do get the set of mini gates to practice in the classroom or the hallway. But this is where you're really honing in those skills that when we can give you a competition through a gate this size. I've actually got a guy in Memphis here I'm going to be interviewing a flight with. I'll be putting him through this course pretty soon. But these are what we need to be able to hit. These are what we need to be able to go through, do the different maneuvers, and go on. The racing program is big. You are getting the 5 giant gates. You're getting the esports computer, chairs, interactive tablecloths, the timing system. It's several pages worth of information and equipment that you're getting with this. So if you want to learn more on the racing side for your middle school or your high school, drop it in the chat section here. Chris may throw a poll up. You can put your information in there. We'll send you more. But yeah, getting this going, competition drives learning. It gets the kids so excited. It gets them pushed. And now when they're doing this and they're going, wait a minute, people get paid to do this for work? Yeah. People get paid how much to do this for work? Yeah, it's amazing. And what's cool, you know, there's a massive amount of jobs already in demand, but the majority of the jobs that we're training these kids for don't even exist yet. That's how exciting this is. I believe the Department of Labor said another 300,000 to 400,000 jobs in the next 2 years or so that we're going to need more trained pilots for. So we are really prepping these kids now so that as they graduate, they're able to walk into these different career sets. So Chris, did that hit everything on the racing side?
I believe so. It's really just down to the certification component. We did not actually go over pricing on racing. Let you do that and obviously open it up to questions before we officially move on.
Absolutely. So with the with the racing side, it is a little bit bigger of a sticker price. You're looking at the racing program on its own for $21,500. It's a one-time purchase, or you get the program with curriculum for an even $25,000. You know, we tried to build this thing cheap, cheap, cheap. We went overseas. We tested every drone we could find. And the problem is the drones that are being used now, they break in 3 months. They fall apart. They're not following the right protocols. We're like, you know what? We're not going to do this. We're industry. We need professional level equipment, not 5-year-old junk put into these classrooms. So the programming that we use is custom. The polymers that we're using in these, if we slam into a kid at full speed ahead, has been tested where we know we're not going to hurt them. It is designed to be long-term and sustainable. That's the beauty of this. We have schools running these drones. I've been running them for over 2 years now. Some are even using the same batteries. Obviously, you need to upgrade batteries all along. But it's built to be a long-term sustainable program. So $21,500 for just the racing program. $25,000 gets you the entire program with curriculum. And all of that, again, is site-wide. So you can have your core racing team, but you can also have Miss Debbie's math class, Mr. Matt's English class. They can each start their own drone clubs as well, where your entire school is a part of a club or an after-school activity going through and racing.
Yep.
Awesome.
I think that covers a nice well-roundedness on the race program. The one thing I will say that's also just not able to be demonstrated in one shot is how much is included in there, from 6 racing drones, 6 classroom drones, you know, large obstacles, small obstacles, gaming laptop, a site-wide simulator license, curriculum for racing, so that you're not just you know, able to fly, you're able to talk the talk and understand all of the components that are involved. We have wheelie bags with backpack straps, you know, to make everything easy to put back up and store. We have fire safe bags that keep batteries safe and in a charging area that keeps the school at low risk. We have support sessions that you can come in. We have video libraries that have a video for everything from unboxing to how to calibrate, you name it. And that is really the Rocket difference. So not to beat that topic too much, but did just want to make sure and justify what's going on with those higher price points.
Absolutely. Hey, Chris, would you mind showing, do we have the training videos? Because that is one thing we do spend a lot of time focused on. If a school does not have support, this program, like any program, ends up in a closet. That is a waste of my tax dollars and your tax dollars. We don't want that. The beauty of Chris and I owning video studios is you'll see on the right, you'll see a lot of my face. So hopefully you like redheads. But there is a video for every single aspect, from unboxing, pairing the drone, troubleshooting, flying it, whatever it may be. There's a video for every single portion. And if a video doesn't cover it, our support studio runs 3 different live cameras. So when you say, hey, I broke a frame, I need to replace it, but I'm just not comfortable doing it on my own, not a problem. Which one of these 3 camera angles do you like? Ooh, that one. I can see everything great. Perfect. Let's do it together. And I win. There you go. Our animations live, everything there. And it looks like we have a question from Miss Barbara McDaniel. Are the classroom drones programmable? Great question, Barbara. The current classroom drones are not programmable, but Chris, can I give them the secret that's coming?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are working on our own codable drone. You know, DJI has discontinued support for the Tello, the other coding drones in the market. There's a couple decent ones, but it bothers us that a student codes a drone and 3 times it does one thing and 2 times it does something else. And the kid's going, well, what's wrong with my code? Nothing. It's just, it's built for education. That sounds horrible, but it's not built to industry specs. We're not going to put our name on that. So we are building our own programmable drone. Chris, I don't know how much you want to tell them. I'll let you tell them some of the fun stuff it'll do if you want to.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, in our industry, you're either remotely operating a drone or you're coding a drone to do an autonomous mission. So if we're not addressing computer sciences in a big way when we prepare pilots and potential students through this pathway, it's a big shame on us. So really, as Brandon had mentioned, just the same reason that we developed our own smaller micro drones that are easy to use, safe to fly for beginners, and to build that skill set up easily within our own school environment. We wanted to do that for coding, and we quickly looked to partners within the space, but there just aren't any. So really what we needed to create was something that tied back to you know, a very hard to tackle subject, which is building a drone from scratch. That's where you see Chantry Holdman. That's where you see Chris Peugeot. That's where you see a lot of our team coming together to really enhance and design our own product. So we just prototyped our first board. We are a long ways off. I'll just be transparent with y'all. It takes a long time to develop hardware from scratch. But on the plus side, that really will allow us to have an all-in-one drone that's classroom friendly, but also has the ability to not just be flown manually, but also I can code that drone to swarm and do light shows and do individual obstacle navigation. It's going to be one of the highest tech indoor drones that I think we'll probably see in the market, and it's just going to be for education. I won't say too much more other than we are going to be launching a curriculum first for coding drones, and that curriculum will have an integrated simulator that will allow me to code the drone in a virtual environment like a gym or like a football field, and I can start to have a curriculum that starts to teach that, and then we layer in the hardware a little later as we continue to refine that development world. So great question. Love to address it. Wish I could show y'all a little bit more, but it is still in active development. But you will see that coding drone curriculum before the physical drone.
It's going to be awesome too. And if you already have the racing program, you're going to be coding races. Every program meshes together in that pathway. So there's going to be so many great things. So, all right, next up, it looks like we've got certifications, getting certified. So we touched on this early on. The Part 107 is the certification, the license to get to be a drone pilot. Funny enough, it looks exactly like my fixed wing pilot's license. It's blue, but instead of private pilot, it says UAS pilot or unmanned aerial vehicle pilot on there. The way we do this is we want to save our schools money. We don't like saying, hey, you have to buy all these licenses. What we do is we recommend the school get started. You get your kids up and running. We help you get that aviation program moving. And then you come back and you say, hey, Brandon, hey, Chris, out of my whole class, I've got 13 students that are just loving this. They want to move forward and get their 107. Outstanding. Then we'll get you set up with 107 licenses just for those 13. That way you're not buying 50 licenses that just sit there. On the flip side, they never expire. We do have schools that come to us and go, Brandon, I've got a bucket of money. I need something. They'll buy the licenses and just use them as the kids come online. But we try to be friendly to the school budgets, and we recommend getting those 107s up and running. Everything is done online. It's all video-based, interactive with the charts. They give you downloads, everything you need to go through the 107. I did the course myself when I got my license. It's a great setup to get these kids up and running with the 107 certifications. And then as we work on we can't talk a lot about what's happening there, but we are working on other certifications in the industry to continue getting these kids up and growing even more beyond the 107.
Yep. And pricing on 107, Brandon?
150.
Yep, 150. And now this is one of the only ones that we do individualized license for because it actually stays with the student. You have to recertify every 2 years in the FAA commercial drone operators environment. So they'll be able to pull this curriculum back up 2 years, 6 years, 10 years from now, as long as the FAA 107 program is in existence. So they'll have that to study and get recertified every 2 years for that as well. So don't want to go too deep on 107. Y'all have known about it. You know what it is. It is a wonderful program, but it is the cherry on top for us. We like to really build that skill set up.
Absolutely. That's perfect. And then that really just moves us into the future of rocket drones and see if there's any more questions coming on. We have more and more curriculums coming. We develop curriculum. The beauty of being in the industry is we see where the needs are. So it's like, hey, we're starting to see a big demand from industry for pilots to have X, Y, and Z. Let's build a curriculum around that. There can be one on entrepreneurship, different certifications. When you're running a camera, you don't just go to automatic mode and hit click. It's ISO and aperture and settings. And wait a minute, there's clouds. There's a lot of different things that you look at that have to go into your thought process while you're flying. So you'll see that. You'll see additional simulators, the coding drone. It's funny. Coming from industry, it was like, let's just start a little side company for education. We have fallen in love with the education world so much, from seeing these kids having never flown a drone to picking up a racer 4 weeks in, going around the track and tearing it up. It is amazing the potential that our students have. And Chris, I don't know about you, but I've handed my entire company over to my lead pilot. He runs my drone company now. I do nothing but rocket drones because this is my passion. The impact and the difference we're making for these kids, gosh, it's exciting.
It really is. And the same thing's happened at Pelican. Our lead pilot of 7 years has now become an owner in Pelican Drones and allows me to step away and do a much more involved role into full time with Rocket Drones. But, going, really back into, what's around the corner, what we're working on next. Obviously, as Brandon mentioned, curriculum is a big part. We know Intro to Drones only covers so much of the appetite. We know that there's desires to get into industry learning related to drone photography, how to edit photos, drone videography, drone mapping. Expect some of that to come out, but with industry partnering, with the associations behind some of these industries, like PAPA, for example, the Professional Aerial Photographers Association. Instead of it just being the Rocket Drones photography certification, it's going to be an industry partnered certification to allow for a much more much more recognizable understanding of what you've gone through as a student to get to this level of informativeness. Site licenses for simulators are now going to be a standalone product. We're going to be offering that as just we really like to have budget-friendly options. We obviously have a great entry product at the classroom level at $3,500, but even cheaper than that, we feel that there needs to be a site license for a simulator, so that as many kids that are interested in trying their hand at least a simulation of flying a drone, we want to have that pathway for a school and it be under $1,000. So that's something we'll be seeing more of here in the near future. Coding drone, we've already mentioned. It's going to be quite the product, quite the capable product, but we're going to be very patient on when we get it out. Drone Aviation League is coming to life. We're going to have our first exhibition match this first week of December at the ACTE National Expo in San Antonio, Texas. We're going to have a 40 by 80 foot netted enclosed area. We really hope that you guys can attend or spread the word for us. And obviously, if you have any schools that are interested in coming to that, we'd love for you to shoot us an email. We're going to be putting out some awareness campaigns to more heavily promote that event. It's nothing other than bragging rights for the schools that are able to make it and show off their skills. But the real competition begins in the spring of 2026. We're looking at hosting our national competition here in Pensacola, Florida, in a mid-April type of range, in between those exams and spring break timeframes, and just so slightly warm enough to get in the water here in Pensacola. So it's something we're tossing around very heavily. Expect more information there. But ultimately, the goal of our drone competition is to align not just drone racing, but coding drone competitions, games like drone golf, drone tennis, and allow multiple classifications of students to compete, and then show off those skills to potential employers and create those feeder networks, so that if Florida Power and Light, for example, wants to interview the top 10 drone racers, student drone racers out there, we've got a pathway for that now as the last chapter of where we're doing our due diligence to connect these opportunities. So really, instead of sponsorships, that's our goal. If anyone does have commercial drone employment companies that are looking to, like Zipline, for example, they do drone delivery, and they're looking to expand and create more drone delivery jobs. We want to bring in those relationships more and more to connect versus just regular sponsorship opportunities. So with that being said, that is kind of our next steps. And of course, feedback is always welcome here at Rocket Drones. As Brandon mentioned, we crave educator feedback. It's what really leads to the success of adaptability when we complete the sale. We know that there's educator preferences that we sure like to accommodate.
Absolutely. And in the comments there, I put my email, brandon@rocketdrones.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I also put a link to Career Tech Vision, that San Antonio race, that exhibition we'll be hosting. Chris, any other ways if they have questions? I guess just brandon@rocketdrones.com. They can just reach out and we can jump on with them.
Yeah, I've got a last ending link, and we can open it up to questions, of course, too. But this is a form. Feel free to fill it out if you truly would like to receive a custom tailored quote or walk through any additional layers of what we've talked about today. We can certainly schedule that time or just email over some handy information. Looks like I want to say we've got some questions.
I saw a
popping
hand.
up.
I saw a hand
Yeah.
pop. Is there a way we can see who raised it? Or maybe they can let's see. I'm in the chat. If they can type it in the chat, maybe.
Yep, or unmute your mic and you can just ask away too that way.
Yeah. Or it might have just been a high five.
It might have just been a high five too. So we'll let that be. And everyone, thank you so much for joining. Obviously, we really appreciate your time. It's something that has been our first experience into a virtual demo. We hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, look forward to hearing more from y'all.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining, y'all. Look forward to staying in touch.